Start again, Phil.
So in lieu of Lou biscuits, in lieu of Toulouse's win, we've got Le Petit Citron biscuits. Yeah. But I was going to say, Sky have got this moniker, haven't they, that every Sunday is a Super Sunday.
Super Sunday, yeah.
So if every Sunday is Super Sunday, none of them can really be Super Sunday. We got, yesterday, one of the most sensational Sundays I think Rugby League has ever had.
Was the state championship good as well?
I didn't quite get up for that. It seemed a little bit one-sided.
Yeah. But a Cleary won, so that's the main thing.
But the women's NRLW, the men's NRLW.
Violence.
I went to York to watch York and Toulouse in the Championship Grand Final. You went to Wigan to watch the Women's Grand Final. Were we or were we not spoilt yesterday, whether we were watching games from the other hemisphere or privileged to be at them? I just think there's a lot goes on off the field.
There is.
Most of which we're not going to talk about.
No, we're not going to talk about.
Because we're not going to give these people oxygen and publicity. No. But what goes on it this weekend, if I had a hat, I'd take it off. I may stop breathing halfway through this because it's a bit. It's
because you've got a layer on underneath, isn't it? That's why. And they are made for. I don't say athletes. That's a bit unfair for me to say.
It is a playing shirt, signed from 1992, and I haven't really been able to wear it for the last 19 years.
The world champion Broncos of '92, because they beat Wigan that year.
They did, and after that game, the gentleman who gave me this jersey put his boots in the middle of the field at Central Park and walked off, never to play again.
So who was that?
Tony Curry.
There you go. We are Brisbane Broncoed out. And it seemed they had a good thing at London with Darren Lockyer appearing on the big screen saying, come watch us.
Lots of people. Rebrand coming up, but not changing the name. I think they've got some big plans for when the Ashes test is on at Wembley. And now it's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Because now we can talk about who has won the Championship Grand Final, who has got 0.25 IMG points, and whether or not that will make a difference.
We don't know, do we?
Which none of us know.
No one knows. No one knows apart from the people who crunch the numbers, who are independent. Like the independent panel we're going to... Oh, no, we're not talking about that.
Toulouse feel, having spoken to Sylvain Houlès yesterday, that they can't do any more.
No.
That what they've done off the field, with the training base that they've now got, with the junior development that they're doing, which obviously doesn't count, with the fact that they've actually won the competition, that they feel as though they are Super League ready. And I think as well there's been a groundswell of opinion since Le Coup.
That's what they're calling it in L'Equipe.
That more weighting needs to be given to performance on field as opposed to just numbers crunched off the field. So I think that's going to be very hard for some of the people that have been proposing that to then turn around and say, well, I don't think Toulouse deserve a place in Super League because they won the competition.
They are the champion. They're mushrooms.
Yes, I was going to say, isn't it?
Lots of people complaining on the chat today, mainly because I forgot to turn the microphone on. I thought I turned it on. I genuinely thought I'd turn it on. It could be his ringtone, Phil, but we're not going to mention his name.
What?
I would like to complain. The News at 10 thing. That's the extended mix of the News at 10. I mean, hopefully he doesn't get copyright struck by the ITN. I don't think they still exist. I would like to complain. I'm not sure about what, but you're bound to say something. Just didn't want to be left out of the tradition of complaining we seem to have. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, the RFL have opened a complaints department after last week. And we just had a missive through from them. You know how they're a bit slow with these things. They've apologised for the performance of the referee, Mr. Jay Shufflebottom, in the game on the Saturday, the 7th of September, 1895, when Tyldesley beat Manningham 6-0. Apparently there are a few forward passes that he missed. They've sent a letter to Bradford City, but I don't know if he'll get there or not. So apologies to Manningham for that. But if
who did in fact win the championship that year?
The first champions of Rugby League are Bradford City. Do they ever mention? I think they should mention that because that's a great stat. 3 teams from Bradford have won the championship, or something. Also on the chat, if I go back to it, Phil's complaining that we post too many Wakefield programmes on social media. Wonder why that is. But today, you've had Halifax versus St Helens. That's not Wakefield. Scarborough versus Chorley. They're not Wakefield. So, I'll tell you what's tomorrow in a moment.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah, everyone's complaining. Welcome to Complaining Hour on the 4020 live podcast. And as Phil said, it was a very good day. It's been a good weekend.
Oh, it was sensational. Sunday was sensational.
When we talk about rugby league, the week's been good. When we talk about the other stuff, it's been a nonsense. That's why we're going to try and avoid it.
So what we do know is Liam Moore is the referee for Saturday.
Correct.
So address any apologies via him. No, I think he's right man for the job. I wish our expert on the appointment of referees and assessment of them was with us.
Well, it's probably only one of 2 people, 3 people.
I think probably 2, but we're now going to get all the people saying, but he's from Wigan.
Yeah. I
think he's le best, le meilleur.
This is as French as this podcast going to be.
And we know that Lewis Dodd has signed for Catalan Dragons, although we are surprised that it's only for 1 year. So they got Toby Sexton, who signed for a year, Lewis Dodd, who signed for a year. So that's an interesting one. I think that's a great halfback pair.
How long's the coach signed for?
2 years.
2 years. So Paul and Phil, whoever's complaining about programmes, right? Tomorrow you're getting Lee versus Workington from 1984, Batley Nottingham from 1990, the 1987 World Club Challenge, that's not got Wakefield in.
What a night that was.
Was it 8-0?
8-2.
8-2, sorry. No, Sean Wayne, man of the match.
Sean Wayne was the only man of the match he ever won for Wigan.
The 1972 Yorkshire Cup final, you might have been at this because it was Dewsbury versus Leeds.
Yeah, that was a strange year because Leeds won the Yorkshire Cup final something like 36-9 and then they met in the Championship final and Dewsbury won it. Mike Stevenson's finest hour.
And the 1967 Lancashire Cup final between St Helens and Warrington. So no Wakefield there at all. So stop complaining. It's free. Will Toulouse now get into Super League on merit, says Paul. No, because there's a thing. But they've got a quarter of a point and we'll see what happens. What if they finish outside the top 12? Will they be 13 or 14?
Yes, I can only go on yesterday because nobody knows.
No, we don't know.
And even though teams might know what their own score is because they've been tracking it and they know what improvements they've made and points that they've gained, although I'm told that the criteria might have changed a little bit.
Right.
Toulouse think they will now be 12th. And on the basis that we won't have Salford in the 12th, nor Keighley, apparently.
No, well, yes, we need to come on to that.
Who have 0 points.
We've got more points for our LED ball.
Null point. The feeling was that because they'd won, that would just put them above the threshold, which makes it very interesting because then you've got York, who put on a great occasion yesterday, Bradford and London, who obviously are now backed by some serious finance, vying for only two further spots. I think the other interesting thing that is starting to emerge is that there's a feeling that if we're going to go to 14 in 2026, that soonish after that we may go to 16 because somebody is going to miss out. He's going to be close. But he's going to be going full time and is looking for an avenue into the top flight, and that there's probably another club who will need a bit more time to get up to that level. I've no idea who that is. Clearly, it isn't Keighley.
No, North Wales School, something
like that. North Wales aren't paying their players now, are they?
Oh.
That's another one.
So that could be two eights possibly.
No, I think.
Or just need to have a league of 16
But just to make sure that those who aspire.
Yeah.
Have
Well, that's always been the idea, hasn't it? To have full-time professional clubs in one division.
To move upwards, to raise the bar rather
upwards mobility
than lower it. So I think Toulouse felt that was a really important win for them, and that could be the missing ingredient. But also, I think if they were 13th or 14th and in whatever the independent mix is, they now have a very, very strong card to play alongside their financial stability.
All these independent panels, they must cost a fortune for the RFL to keep running them, especially over things that are nonsense. But we've got no money.
Well, we're going to have a disciplinary panel tomorrow, aren't we? Independent, because JWH will be appearing, trying to get.
But not Lockie Lamb, because that's been
No.
that's gone now. So
But JWH 3-game ban.
for accumulated points over the season, and now people are complaining about that because we've known about it all season.
They're going to appeal, but is it going to go from 3 games to
might go
none?
to 4. Might be
No, but I mean,
frivolous.
if they go, no, you're right, we'll drop it to 2. It's like, how does that help him? He's retiring anyway.
Can't just change the system because someone's retiring. People say, why don't we do that thing they have at the NRL Grand Final? We have the retiring people. We haven't got enough time because everyone's a legend in this country, so we can't do it.
We should do more.
We should do more. But we have to be very selective about who we.
What we don't want tomorrow night at the awards ceremony, somebody say there's a saucer at the back with your name on. Go and help yourself.
You'll be there.
All being well.
Getting the scoops.
If I can get this jumper off. Yeah.
Don't spill gravy down you like other people have done in the past.
I often do that. I should take a change of shirt, really.
I mean, I was in the chicken wing, but no, I can't say. Change the criteria, i.e. extra point if not based in France, says Paul. It's a very cynical audience. What have we done to this programme?
I think it's more about things like social media thresholds and stuff like that. I think the things have changed. I think the finance has changed a little bit as well, because clearly some clubs who weren't as viable as perhaps it would have made out with their score have been exposed.
Speaking of social media, I saw one of the Castlewood Tigers wheelchair players earlier tweeted. Now, if I forgot to congratulate them last week, I apologise, because I went for that whole list of people and I might have forgotten Castlewood. So congratulations, Castlewood, on winning the Wheelchair Championship Grand Final. And they're looking to get subscribers to their own YouTube channel, the personal YouTube channel, so they can live stream games. Shouldn't the club be doing that? So then they can get more views and more NG points.
You'd have thought so.
That's just, half joined up thinking. Change the rules again, says Paul, and go to 15 teams next season. Another Paul. There's too many Pauls. Why has everyone got names beginning with P? Paul says 15 in the league is a good idea, as it would ensure every club got a week off during the season.
Again, I'm not sure it's about the number of clubs. I think it's to do with the number of fixtures that should be played.
Like the NRL.
Yeah, they have 17 clubs. It doesn't seem to harm them in any way whatsoever. They have bye rounds. It works. They take games on the road. It works. Not everybody plays everybody home and away. But the rivals, the big rivals, they do play each other.
So Lockie Lamb.
They have a magic round.
Lockie Lamb signed a contract until 2027.
He has.
And in 2028, the PNG thing comes in. Because we don't know what they're called yet. Well, they've got planning, like when these teams are going to come in.
Angels.
Yes.
It's one of them, apparently.
Yeah. What else has happened this week? Apart from Lewis Dodd's gone to Catalans today. There'll be loads of signings coming, so new kits and stuff. Do you like the new Leeds kit? You don't care. He's just blue and amber.
Well, I prefer it was a band rather than a stripe.
Yeah.
But that's just because I'm old and traditional.
I'm assuming Wakefield's will be white.
If they eventually announce that they've sold more than any other kit in the history
ever, yeah.
Who are we?
I'm assuming Hull will have. Hull Cow have got one out. That's a very traditional shirt.
Classic.
Very nice. I'm not a Paul, says Ian. I'm just not saying anything because I didn't see the games. Bridget Jones was on Sky Movies. That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Well, they should have seen the games because the games would reinvigorated your love of this great sport.
St Helens women, they did well, and the men they pushed Hull KR, so could have been worse. What I can't understand is, and I know we'll get into the games in a bit, if Paul Wellens is going, which halfway through the season we said it's got to that point where some people are never going to be happy. That decision would have been made not based on the result against Hull KR, who, as we know, have won everything so far in the men's game this season. So if they'd have lost last week, which they were doing up until the 80th minute, it would have been, last week would have had the story saying, oh, Paul Wellens is going. I thought all the stuff that's come out over the last week that's been nothing to do with the semi-finals and the women's grand final and the championship grand final has been disrespectful to those games, because we should have been talking of those games in the last week.
Absolutely.
And there's been not much about the women's grand final, and I know the championship's a strange thing, and people say, well, why don't they have a report on the BBC website about it? Well, the BBC local radio, they cover it in great depth.
Yes.
The championship. So
BBC Radio York were there.
It's a different thing, the website to the thing, but it's like we're all guilty of it, talking about all this other nonsense when we should be talking about the players.
I think there's another element to this, because I think you're right. that the losing coaches of all 6 games, be it the men's semi-finals or all the 4 grand finals, have been absolutely sensational in just giving credit to the opposition and saying, I can't be anything other than proud of the effort that we put. Yeah, we might have made some mistakes, and it's a shame we couldn't quite get over the line. But every one of them, of which, and we've said it before, I'm going to say it again, Mark Applegarth, if there was a league table for who was the most gracious in defeat, magnanimous in victory.
There's a knock at the door. You go get the door. Mark Applegarth, the greatest former outward. Oh, it's the paper. No wonder it got under the door. There's nothing. He is the epitome of humility and being grounded. You know, his team, and we'll talk about the games, but his team scored 2 tries, kept the opposition to 0, and lost. And clearly, the very first question he would have been asked was, sense of injustice.
Blah, 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 blah. No. If the boot had been on the other foot, I wouldn't want a coach sat here saying it was all because of external stuff. Congratulations to the winners. We needed to be better. I just thought it's a breath of fresh air. It doesn't get reported enough. It's not newsworthy because he isn't saying, I want an apology from the RFL.
Where's Chris Kendall? Why can't we get him? Okay.
All of the losing coaches in what has been a sensational few days on the field have treated the game with the respect that a lot of the things that happen off the field haven't. This
is something odd that I noticed yesterday on Instagram. I can't remember which players it was, but it obviously wasn't the St Helens women. And they took a picture of their medal. And on the back, it didn't say runners-up. It said finalists. And I thought, that's interesting word. It's very woke word. It can't have runners-up. It's got to be finalists. It doesn't matter. I don't know why I've mentioned that because it's not really relevant, but I have now. This has been a truly dire week off the pitch, says Ian. Paul says, Ian, keep off this. It's St Paul's Day in the Church of the Holy Undecided. Unwashed as well.
We're not. I don't want to discuss stuff off the field that
the rubbish stuff,
has brought the game into bordering on disrepute.
We'll see what the independent panel does, which is, of course, sod all.
Who's going to be on it? How are they going to be independent?
Leto the Leopard. People who don't like Wigan. Scowie, he could be on there. I don't know. Has anything else happened?
He was a whole cow.
Was he a whole cow?
Mick Harrison died.
Yes, I saw that this morning. Tell me about him, because he played. He's in Hull's Hall of Fame. He played for Leeds as well. That's what I've learned.
Played 528 club games, but in an era where there was contested scrums and referees' interpretations of collision and coming together was somewhat more laissez-faire.
Didn't have head injuries in those days.
Well, it was more of, I saw what he did, get yours in, and then we'll forget it ever happened. By common consent amongst his peers, Mick Harrison was one of the toughest men ever to play the sport, and said very little. He just went out there and was the cornerstone of every pack that he played for. He was just a tough man. He was a brilliant forager in the scrum. He was open side prop. He was a fantastic man-on-man tackler, very much in the bear hook style. You didn't get past it. If you were looking for, again, the hard yards before such a phrase was invented, he was the man. He played for Great Britain at prop at the age of 20, which, again, is virtually unheard of. He was born in Featherstone, raised in Hull, and won most of his medals at Leeds. But you speak to anybody who he was in a team with, and he was the man. There is an apocryphal story.
There always is.
We think, where tackle stats had just been invented.
Right.
So coaches were giving them at half time, and it formed part of their team talk to their side. And the story goes that Sid Hines was the Leeds coach. And Leeds were losing at half time, and he walked into the dressing room with the tackle stats and berated his team for not being tough enough in the first half. And he came and looked at the stats, and he looked at Mick Harrison and went, "And why have you only made 1 in an entire 40 minutes?" And Mick didn't say anything, never did say anything. and one of his teammates said, "Would you run at him?" That summed him up.
Mick Harrison, what a prop forward, says Paul. Not only a tough player, but he had underrated slip pass as well.
He did.
One of my favourite props Leeds have had.
He was, yeah. He was the epitome of. If you want to define tough in rugby league, that was it.
Everyone. I've turned into one of those clickbait sites. Everyone's saying the same thing. Everyone is saying the same thing after the NRL Grand Final, in which Brisbane came from behind to beat Melbourne. I wish I'd backed them at half time and not just on the handicap. However, everyone's saying the same thing. The game's so much faster. The ruck's so much faster. The irony being that Michael Maguire, who the coach of Brisbane Broncos,
invented the slow ruck.
But how do we change it? Because the players are always.
Well, the interesting thing out of this weekend is who's going to referee the Test matches, because clearly the interpretation is either going to be a British one, which will allow a slower ruck, or an Australian one, which is either going to be a lot of penalties early on, or there's going to be a lot more freedom around the ruck. The danger would be, if it's a quick ruck, our chances of winning 2-1 have suddenly just moved a little bit towards losing 3-0. But they're playing over here, so let's give them something to think about.
I don't want to make a prediction for the Ashes, because we did ahead of the England-Australia in Vegas, and might have been conservative on the prediction. And I don't want to make a prediction about what might happen over the whole series, because we might have to speak to people. I don't want to get in trouble yet.
Let's talk about that a bit nearer the time.
Yeah, because we don't know the England squad yet.
We do know the Australian squad.
We do. It's full of people you've heard of, and that fella with the long name good. From the Rugby Union fella. Oh, by the way, the R360 thing. Fully in favour of Peter Volandi's thoughts on this. It's well, not necessarily the banning thing, but just it's a lot of old nonsense because they haven't played a game yet.
It's not going to happen.
It's like New York City. Yeah. It doesn't exist.
If players towards the end of their career want to take a huge pension and somebody is foolish enough to give it to them, great.
To play for the Miami Fish or whatever. But there's a story on the BBC website about Ellie Culldon last week, who gets more mentions on this than anyone else. And I was like, it doesn't exist. She might go. The NRL exists. The NRLW exists rather. This doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Stop talking about this thing that doesn't exist. Like Liverpool Rugby League Football Club and stuff. Is there anything else to say about the NRL Grand Finals other than that they were great entertainment?
Yeah, loads.
And it was.
I mean,
we can't compare us to them in terms of everything because it is their Super Bowl.
It's not apples. I think the thing about the women's Grand Final is it was played as a precursor to the men's, and for that reason, and clearly because the same team was in both of them, there genuinely were 45,000 people watching, and that is something we've got to think about. I think that you witnessed a record crowd at Wigan for a women's Grand Final, just over 5,000. Great, we're moving in the right direction, but I think it does need to be part of Grand Final day. It's so worked over there. The both of the Brisbane victories will come from behind. So they were winning 12-0 in the women's game and looked like they were in pretty much control. And then Roosters suddenly remembered that they were the best team in the league and hadn't been defeated all year, and went from absolutely nowhere to leading 18-12. And you just thought, that's a sign of a quality team. But Mele Hufanga...
Did she get that down? Because I don't think she got that down. And they didn't go to the bunker said.
To be fair...
Well, I'm not going to tell her.
To be fair, you were 12,500 miles away.
Oh, that's true.
Whether she did or she didn't, if I go and pick up that paper over there...
It'll still say it.
It will say in there, Mele Hufanga scored. And how good was she during the game? She scored the winning try. But Brisbane did have 2 tries disallowed as well. Probably both correctly. So I think on the balance of play and chances created, deserved to win. It's just a great game.
I had to check, and I have been at every women's Grand Final apart from the first one, which doesn't count because it was Bradford versus Featherstone. No one talks about it anymore. But we were at the Manchester Regional Arena in 2018.
When the wind blew a kick.
Our friend Kat, who commented yesterday, she was doing the PA that day.
Was she?
Yeah, apparently there was 1,189 people there, which I'm saying is nonsense. There was not 1,189 people there.
No, and that was in the afternoon before the men's Grand Final, and we had to pack up and rush off to Old Trafford.
So I'm saying that number is nonsense, because she was thinking, I'd have been more nervous if that was the crowd. Followed the year after, Leeds Castleford at the Tottenham Wicked Stadium. Fairly famous game.
Notorious.
Yeah, 1,600 with Fran Goldthorpe's 2 tries again.
They're in the book.
2020 didn't happen.
She was 16, wasn't she?
2021 did happen. Saints winning at Leeds.
Yes, comprehensively.
Yeah, 28-0. That was the day when Saints became Saints. I say became women, but year after, back at the Telequicky Stadium, Leeds versus York. Before York became York. 12-4 Leeds. Their last title. 2,151. Not bad for two teams having to travel.
Yeah. That was the one where, again, we said, yes, it probably would have got more if it had been in Yorkshire.
Then we were in York because they changed the rules to it at the
Yes.
home. Now, I said this last week, it should be at a set venue, but 4,500 at York for York winning their first title. And then the year after, 4,800 for York winning their second title. And now 5,000 at the JJB, at DW, Brick.
You gave your age away there.
Some land. It felt like a grand final. Now, I know the two ends were shut. I know the stand I was in was just full of friends and family and hospitality or whatever.
And media.
A bit of hospitality, yeah. Well, not that much media. Not everyone who writes a match report is necessarily there these days, are they? But 5,000 people. It was a weird atmosphere. Not quiet, just different, but good. And there's a group of, I assume, girls who were cheering on Saints right to the end, and you can hear them over the other side singing When the Saints Go Marching In. So lots of people enjoying themselves. Lots of Wigan women's shirts, because obviously got the different shirts in the crowd. So they must be making some money off those. That'd be a positive. I don't know how much the event makes or doesn't make as a thing, but it's a thing. It's established now. It's on the telly. The first one probably on YouTube. I don't know. No one knows. But we can't be Australia because they've got loads of money. But certainly it should be part of Grand Final day now. The Challenge Cup's established, isn't it, at Wembley? If you can't take that away now. What is stupid...
Unless it's the 1895 Cup, in which case you can.
Which you can. What is stupid is...
the
Women's Super League Grand Finals played at the highest ranked team, right? Yeah, don't necessarily think that's the best idea, but that's how it is. The Northern Championship... Why do we call it the Northern? I know there's a Southern Championship. We just call it the Championship. That was played at the highest ranked team, London.
It was, at Chiswick.
On Sunday, you've got the League 2 final between Rochdale Hornets and Rochdale Mayfield, and the League 1 final between Widnes and Wakefield Trinity. And that's played at Odson. Those are played at Odson. I don't know why. I mean, both the teams in the League 1 final have got better stadiums. Widnes finished top, so they deserve that home. Because why would it be different for... And Rochdale, well, it doesn't matter if they go to Wakefield or Widnes or Bradford, does it? But if they go to Widnes... Give the players who, have had a hard season doing whatever.
But give the fans a chance to support them.
Go somewhere decent. I don't know. The women's game in this country really has to be on TV, streaming every week if you want to be serious about it compared to the Aussies, says Paul. Yes, it does. But that will take money and investment. And I think...
But also, ideally, more than 4 competitive teams.
Yeah. And how we get there, I don't know. I mean, Huddersfield are obviously improving. And the thing what is going to be obvious is it might not be the next generation of kids coming through, but the generation after, they're just going to improve because there's more playing, which is great in and of itself. But that means there's going to be more people we're going to find talent from. Now, I'm a York Knights fan, says Mark. I would just like to say it was great to be there and watch the game. How people can say rugby league is dying should get off their arses. I'm going to say, you've blanked it out, I'm going to say arses, and go to a live game. They should, Mark. It's barely cheap. We'll get back onto the Women's Grand Final in a bit. Have we got anything more to say about the NRL before we move on to York and Toulouse?
Yeah, the men's Grand Final.
Yeah. So Reece Walsh then, he can't defend.
Well, he can because he made 3 try-saving tackles,
But
particularly
he
at the very
did
end.
miss one. So
on the balance of probabilities, I think
do that at Wembley.
3 match winners against one that he missed. It was, I think. Admittedly, I was wearing maroon and amber spectacles. One of the greatest solo virtuoso performances in a big game that I have ever seen. And we've seen some fantastic players do some astonishing things. We've seen, Darren Lockyer win test matches when it's basically been, give me the ball. Before him, Wally Lewis and, the big names. Reece Walsh, who again is a character. There aren't too many people that have won a grand final wearing nail polish. He was sensational. And again, you looked at the slightly more structured way that Melbourne tend to play, although I thought they moved the ball quite a lot. And they were ahead to the point where you thought they'd probably done enough in the first half. That's probably a margin that will see them home, because they just grind teams down. And Brisbane have now got this inherent reputation of, like, it doesn't matter how far behind we are or who we're playing, we don't care. And they did it at Canberra. They did it against Penrith. You're not supposed to do that against this Penrith team. And you just thought it needs a spark, but once you ignite it, they become so infused with belief that they're almost impossible. And that spark was Reece Walsh. And anybody who hasn't seen it, or who doesn't even have a vested interest in the two teams that played, do watch the highlights, and you will see somebody who is absolutely at the peak of their form. And you know, you can do it on a wet Tuesday in Stoke, but can you do it in a grand final? I think the other thing that's astonishing from over here, looking at in envy, I would say, at what they do over there, is that we had two teams that were out of towners, and yet they filled an 80,000 stadium, which says something about the strength of the sport. Because yes, there were a hell of a lot of Brisbane fans there, and the great thing was that when the presentations were made, the ground was still 2/3 full, because there was a lot of support for Brisbane. But a hell of a lot of neutrals must have gone to get to a crowd figure like that, and we're not quite at that. I would hope that Saturday we might be approaching 70, and there'll be quite a few neutrals that will go. But to see that stadium full when there wasn't a Sydney team playing was astonishing. Our State of Origin is going to New Zealand in 2027, because again, it's all about spreading the market. But it was sensational for Brisbane fans. It was sensational for rugby league fans. Reece Walsh, cannot wait to see him play over it, because again, we're not used to seeing a 3-match series with the Aussies. So yes, we've seen them in World Cups. We've seen they're great players have played over here, but it's fleeting for 80 minutes. To get the chance to say for the next 3 weeks, if he's fit and selected, we're going to see Reece Walsh, that's fine. It's just added another layer of excitement for me.
But he might not win the Golden Boot, because someone else will win it in the Pacific Championships. It's amazing.
I just thought, for those that love rugby league, it was a monumental occasion.
It's good to see that the Aussies have got the same problems as us now in women's rugby league, because everyone's moaning about Jessie Southwell, or Southwell if you're from a different area of the country, moving to the Brisbane Broncos from the Newcastle Knights.
Well, Gail Broughton, who is one of my favourite players, standoff, she's going to New Zealand Warriors, as indeed is Mela Hufanga.
Ah.
So look out for the Warriors next year.
And they've lost the play to Catalans.
They're going home.
Yeah. So it's all exciting. We don't know where Paige Travis is going to be. She was there because she posted a picture from the stadium yesterday.
Was she?
So, as in the NRL Grand Final, not...
right. She wasn't at Wigan.
No. And as was mentioned after the Women's Super League Grand Final, the NRLW going to come calling for some of them players eventually.
Well, and it's not going to do our game any harm.
No.
Apparently in the men's Grand Final, Teddy Swan.
Yeah, he did, and he was
even
wearing
though
leopard
he wasn't
print.
expected to.
No, because he'd done his throat or something. Oh, by the way, to update people on my terrible throat problems, I've got a swollen left tonsil.
Have you?
Yeah, which I've been very careful.
Not a
having
right
said that.
tonsil?
No.
Have you told your left tonsils have nothing to do with your right
I'm
tonsil?
on penicillin, but I kept forgetting to take it yesterday because I was in Wigan. But I did have a pie, so it was all right.
Was it a chicken balti?
No, it was a steak one. In the press conference before the people came in, so I had to wolf it down. Not a very good example to show the students in there, it has to be said. They've only been ahead, says Phil, for 30 minutes in the final series. It's like saying the other week. You know, the only time you have to be in front is right.
The last Ashes series, 2003. I think Australia were only ahead for about 8 minutes in all 3 games and won all 3. But that's a sign of greatness and belief, and having confidence in the players that are around you. And I you know, the Australian squad is brimful of great players, but I'm really pleased that Shibasaki's got a place, because his story again is one of perseverance. And in 2023, I think he'd played a little bit of NRL, but he'd fallen out of favour, and he went to Brisbane on a train and trial contract, and there he is scoring 2 tries in a grand final 2 years later and picked for Australia. So just great stories. And again, Harry Grant, who gave the speech.
How good Harry Grant, yeah.
Unbelievably magnanimous about losing in a grand final. Top man.
So, York Toulouse, before we move on to yesterday's other game, then we'll get back to the semi-finals and go backwards.
Yeah.
No tries for Toulouse, but they are the champions. They've won the trophy.
It was, first of all,
they're the champions.
Echo our correspondent. It felt like a big game.
Good.
There were, I think, 3 sides open, and clearly the main stand was all but full, and the wings had people in them but weren't full. And then, because we were posting pictures from the main stand side, the opposite side where the cameras were didn't have any people in because it wasn't open, so everybody was going, "Oh, there's nobody there." It's like, no, that was the reason why, but let's not worry about that. 300 Toulouse fans came on.
Saw them with their flags, yeah.
I think 5 coaches, they said, had left
Wow.
Toulouse to drive up to York. They made a terrific noise. They lent enchantment to the occasion. York scored 2 tries, both out wide. Liam Harris couldn't kick the goals. Toulouse got 5 kickable penalties, kicked them all, and as Mark Applegarth said, it was down to the indiscipline of York, who were put under immense pressure by Toulouse for the entire 80 minutes. And whether that is the difference between a part-time team and a full-time team, that you just stay connected together for longer, I'm not sure. But it was one of those games where you genuinely couldn't take your eyes off it, because it was close the entire way through. If York made one more error than the penalties that they gave away, it was each time they scored, they couldn't complete the next set, and they tended to concede a kickable penalty from those errors. And it's little things like that that were the difference. But Toulouse were so solid. As the later it got on, and the more that you knew they were 2 points ahead, you couldn't see how they were going to surrender it. But it's the implications of what happened that is now really exciting. Really.
But that's off field. But it's still funny.
No,
something's going to happen that is funny.
But something happened on field that is going to influence
Yeah.
whatever happens off it. It was a great day. I think anybody who was there would have said, even if they were a York fan, it felt like there was sort of, if they did get into Super League, this could be what it might be like every home game.
So is it proof that, I know there is obviously points at stake, but is it proof that the championship as a separate standalone competition has some kind of value?
Yes.
To winning it?
Yes. But again, I think you've got to get that division right, that there's too much of a gap between the teams at the bottom and the teams at the top. You could easily film the teams at the top every week if they were playing each other, and you've got a saleable product, either within that bubble of the championship streaming games, or possibly offering it to a streaming provider. But I do think that what York have to build on now is, if they do get into Super League, and none of us know, they may think they know, and we know they're going full time next year irrespective, then they just need to get more of the people there that were there on Sunday, who clearly weren't going every week to their home games, but because it was big and because it meant something, and there were amber and black balloons all over the place, and it was great.
Streaming's interesting, because I saw a tweet earlier from TalkSport. They are streaming on YouTube, I think, the London Lions in European basketball or something. So this is the thing now. You've got to think more than just, Premier Sport exists.
Well,
and try and work out how you
this
can
is something else we
link
were
up with
talking about yesterday, that clearly, obviously, one of the things everybody wants is a French TV deal. And that apparently is going to be the key to whether we want French teams in our competition. But what if that French TV deal was L'Équipe streaming it?
It's the modern world now.
Because they actually were very quick to offer congratulations to Toulouse on their social media sites. They tweeted the pictures of Toulouse lifting the trophy. There's over 6 million people follow their social media. So if they were to stream it, and again, you wouldn't get a huge amount of money from them for the rights to stream. You're opening up a French market. If you can't have advertisers, putting their product in front of potentially 6 million viewers, then we're doing something wrong.
We could put sponsors in the middle of the screen here. It's possible.
If they're going to give you 6 million quid,
it'd be nice, wouldn't it? We could,
yeah,
give you a few. So that's Toulouse and York, and the excitement of what's going to happen next, and the future of the sport in the championship, which we don't know what's going to happen because I think Barrow put a statement out today saying we don't know what's happening. So
well, they can't they can't put season tickets
because they are one of the clubs who know they're not going to be in Super League.
Yeah,
but they don't know how many games they're going to have, and that's stupid.
So
their season is finished.
10 days from now, we'll know.
Their season is finished.
But people are already planning when they want their teams to be back in. They need to know who they're playing and when the season starts and how many pre-season friendlies they can have in the middle of January.
Against teams next door to them.
Who they'll play 5 times in a year.
So now Keighley have got no points.
No point.
Do they get thrown out of Rugby League completely because they don't exist? Or
I suspect they can't get in Super League with 0 points. But they do have a football team.
Does he have a football team and some exciting kits and stuff?
So the women's
grand final.
You were there?
I was there at Wigan, as I say, as an event.
Not many people had Saints ahead at half time. I don't.
No.
think.
Well, the problem is everyone has based their opinion of Wigan and St Helens, but mainly Wigan, on one game, and that's the Challenge Cup final, because they drew. It's like repeating things for the oldies. They all know this. They drew at Robin Park. Fantastic try from Vicky Whitfield in that. They lost 4-0, by 4 points rather, in the League Leader Shield decider at Totally Wicked Stadium. And then they've lost by 4 points in the grand final. Saints and all as bad as people have made out. Wigan are good, but perhaps not as this. They've been built up to be this fantastically amazing thing that we've never seen the likes of before.
Dennis Betts, who we both have a hell of a lot of time for and has done a terrific job, I think used the line yesterday, we've changed the face of women's rugby league.
I'm not sure they have.
I don't think we've got to that yet. And the other thing I would say is why it was a Super Sunday. A genuine Super Sunday, not a Sky Super Sunday when Aston Villa are playing Leicester.
Yeah.
4 grand finals. The margin of victory 4, 4, 2 and 4.
Wow.
So less than a converted try in all 4. That is sensational.
And if either of Wigan or Saints had their kicking boots on, it might have been different, but it wasn't.
It was windy.
It was windy. But yeah, no. Saints
full credit to Wigan. They've won a lot.
They've won the quadruple.
As their
put some respect on the nines.
As they're mended last year, phenomenal. The way they bought it in house, the facilities and the support that they've given them, brilliant. That's a template. Other clubs that want to catch them, follow it. But how do we get another team to that level?
I don't know, because I don't think you should punish
of course.
A team for having talent because another team's decided, we'll care now. Because I don't think that's fair on the teams that have put the miles in before. It's tough. I mean, Leeds came from nowhere to win a trophy in their first season.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
It's really interesting because I think St Helens will need to replace some generational players. Maybe not next season, but it's going to happen. York will probably have to rebuild their squad now, especially that Lindsay Anfield
and whoever the coach is
stepping away. Leeds have done a little bit of what Wigan did last year in that they've integrated a lot of younger players, and you'd think that if they can get the mix and balance right and maybe sign a couple, that's moving back in the right direction. Huddersfield, I think, again, we've been really impressed with not only the recruitment but the fact that they've got closer to the top 4 teams.
Been winning games in the academy as well, which is.
But if you were a betting man, you'd be saying foolish to not think that we're going to win all 4 again next year.
I think the interesting thing with Saints this year, I think I asked this at the press conference, I can't remember. It's a long time ago now.
What, yesterday?
Yeah. I had a nightmare last night. I had an actual nightmare last night. It was really concerning. So my brain's gone. But I'm sure I asked them. Oh no, I asked them about the because they got 2 coaches. Which they got 2 coaches. You don't know who you're asking the question to. However, they've put some young players in this year.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite in the same positions that Wigan have because they're not in halfbacks or whatever. But this year will do them good. This year will do Leeds good. See what happens next year. Wigan, they're losing Vicky Molyneux, who's obviously an influential figure, but she's staying around the club, so they've still got her influence there.
Our guest last week said they may lose all 5 of their Australian players.
Shania Power was outstanding yesterday.
I thought she actually. I understand why Anna Davis got the player of the match because she scored 2 very important tries. But,
so did Molly Jones.
But Power was the difference when she came
Every
off the
time
bench.
She looked like she was
suddenly we're going to go in right. We know how to do this.
Saints, I can't think of a time where they broke through the line, and I think that might have been one of the differences between the two. Although I should say one of the great moments of the game, and I'm not sure how much this got credit for, was on one of Power's breakaways. Barry Salehi getting in the way of the ball and batting it backwards and breaking up a try-scoring opportunity, because that was superb. Saints weren't quite as good as Wigan, and that's the basic. They weren't bad,
but they scored with 5 minutes to go, and
it was still.
It could still have gone either way.
It was an exciting grand final.
Yeah,
it was.
And the one thing in common of all of the 4 we've talked about is you couldn't stop watching until the hooter went.
Really exciting.
And if we get that on Saturday at Old Trafford, that's fine.
Now we're going to win all 4. Now they've got the target on their back, and they should play Brisbane Broncos.
It will be.
They should play them.
They should. And
I know there's obviously people will say, well, what happened might happen again. It might, but
I think for that to happen, it probably would need their men to win on Saturday.
But it's.
You've got 2 progressive clubs with World Club Challenge history.
Exactly, that's what I said to Dennis Betts. 94, you scored, Dennis. Come on, let's go tell Chris Radlinski. Say, look, we should do this. I think
if it was over here and Brisbane were prepared to send both of their teams, then you would pack out the brick for a double header. There's a school of thought, possibly from someone who is vested interest, to say that it wouldn't be a bad thing if those games were in London.
Well, yeah, that could be. Is it down Lockyer? Have you got his phone number?
Yeah, he texted. So I'm coming over.
When Wigan played Brisbane in the World Club, remember the World Club Series?
I do. That
was a game with nothing on it, and that was a packed out TW. I was there, and Greg Eden scored a try, and they won in Golden Point.
Was that he's going to be the next?
But he ended up being the next.
Who was he? Who was going to be? I can't remember.
But he wasn't.
So
yeah, I would love to see it, if only because it's never happened before. So we don't know. We and you've got to decide what the rules are. But we don't know how good we are until we play against their club sides. And I know that the obvious thing is going to be, well, we'll probably lose. Well, we might lose, but we don't know.
I think the other thing, though, is that you need to know how good you are against opposition.
Because both are at an early stage of this current phase of development, it's not as if we've had 100... So we went into the World Club Championship in 97, 102 years old, and got absolutely thrashed by everyone.
It was a bit early for us to have everyone playing everyone.
Yeah. So this would be a bit different. And if Wigan did lose...
I don't think it would matter.
No, because it's something we've never seen, and you can sell
and it's the next rung of the ladder for Wigan as well, and Dennis.
It would be very exciting. It would be very interesting. Do you think the Daily Mail will be covering the Man of Steel Awards tomorrow, like the Dally M's? There are some very interesting, very interesting comments on the Daily Mail website. Yeah,
I've missed all that. I'm not a subscriber to the Daily Mail.
The NRL Twitter referred to, I think it was Herbie Farnworth and his stunning partner, which I thought, that's not going to fly. No, come on now. the RFL Twitter's not going to do that tomorrow, are they? I don't know who about. But. So that was the women's grand final. It was really good. It was a really close
The whole
game.
weekend. The whole Sunday was just a treat of rugby league.
And hey, we've now got to look forward to the Origin game being played at Oldham, which doesn't have a women's Super League team and is irrelevant really because England aren't playing anyone. We've got no games set up. We don't know when the World Cup is yet.
But I mean, tomorrow Nigeria are playing Ghana. We've got the Women's World Series coming up, so Ireland have had a warm-up game in the Netherlands. Even over in Australia, we've had Greece playing against Lebanon women. So like everybody is playing,
yeah,
but not England, which makes no sense.
Scotland Island wheelchairs. That's logistically because they've got to move wheelchairs around and stuff.
Scotland Wales men are going to be playing each other.
England women, no.
So we're having an Origin game to pick a team for a game that doesn't exist. I think there'll be a few pullouts from that Origin game.
Had a long year, starting with Vegas, which don't want to play, and they won't count as proper games because they'll play too many subs, so they are irrelevant. Can I say that? I mean, do go and support them. Go to Oldham and pay money to see them, but
when is it?
I don't know. I can't find it on the RFL website. But don't play it in Oldham either. Just Anyway, so that shouldn't
detract from
what was
an astonishing day.
A great women's
worth getting up at 6 in the morning.
I didn't get up at 6. Leeds Trinity Academy Grand Final versus St Helens. So it's obvious it's simple enough to do. It was good commentary as well, says Paul. It is. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's simple to do it. To do it well takes more than that, but it is simple to do. And again, I don't understand why they showed some of the community finals over the weekend. It costs to stream, so what's the benefit of... I don't understand. I don't understand what the cost benefit of those things are.
No. And to be honest, most of the people that will be interested in those games will be at those games.
Yeah. Unless Hagfold have got a team, which I don't think they have. But the less said about them, the better. So the men's semi-finals.
I thought there was a common theme in both of them.
What was that?
The teams that lost didn't have a last tackle play.
Is that Lee Breer's fault at St Helens, or is it Paul Wellens?
I just think that the number of times they were either caught in possession, particularly Saints on the last tackle play, or the kicks that were put in, even from Lee, who we know Lachlan Lamb has been sensational this year, just didn't put their opposition under enough pressure. And so when Wigan and Hull KR did get an opportunity, they were starting in field position that was better than perhaps it could have been. Now, whether that's again down to the personnel, the Saints were quite unlucky with losing Bennison early on. When you're naming your bench and you're at Hull KR, you go 4 forwards. That's what we're going to need. And then your winger gets taken out early on, and you've got to reshuffle everything, and it harms the spine of the team because you've got to try and fit in Moses and Bai as a back rather than a backup hooker. So I think there's some extenuating circumstances for Saints. I think Lee have had a tremendous season. I think some of their players have rightly played their way into international contention. I thought Joe Offengawi was sensational against the big Wigan pack that were relentless. But the kicking, you need to pin them on their own line every time you get a chance. You need to get as many repeat sets as you can, kicking into the in goal, and your chase being good enough to tackle Jaifield behind the line. If you give mercurial people the chance to do mercurial things, they will burn you. And obviously Bevan French and Jaifield did that, but that's, I think, because Lee didn't put enough pressure on them when they were in possession. And it was like almost like, Saints are doing what Lee did the night before. But both games again that went almost to the wire.
So how did Lee make that next step? Because now that they've taken a step.
I think that's the great thing, and I think Adrian Lamb was right about that. That even when they lost last year, and they lost really heavily at the same point of the season, he said, we're going to change the personnel a little bit, and we'll learn and we'll get better. That's exactly what they've done. They've changed the person. I mean, don't forget, however, Bailey Hodgson was great, But David Armstrong's what's come back
Well,
into that team.
When the season launched so long ago, the star players they named, him, Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, not playing this week, and Tom Burgess because he's Sam's brother. But there you go.
But so I think Lee will also do some recruitment, and Adrian Lamb is staying. Lachlan Lamb's staying at least for another couple of years. So they'll keep building on what they've done. I don't think they're a million miles away. They just need a bit more depth, because I think again when they get a couple of injuries, it's not quite like fly. When Wigan put substitutes on, the intensity didn't drop. When Lee put substitutes on, it did a little bit. You take Edwin and Pape off, no matter who you put on, it's not going to have the same impact. Yeah. You take Joe Vangawe off, who's been one of the signings of the season. No matter who you put on, it's not quite Joe Vangawe, and I think once they get a little bit more talent to ensure that there isn't such a gap between when they're out there and when they're not, they'll be fine. I don't think that they have too many issues. That again, they need a couple of signings in positions where players are currently coming towards the end of their career, but there'll be no worries about Lee.
I don't know how good their academy is either, so I don't know if there's players coming through who we don't know about.
I think that is the problem, that they don't really have a reserve and academy structure where they're queuing up. I think they have one, but it's not. You're not looking at sort of their intake for 2026 and going, those three kids, you can't keep them out of the team anymore. Where there are other clubs who do rely on young players who you go, it's going to, Warrington, they've not talking about them this week, but they can integrate some young players that I think will enhance where they're going, and it might not be straight away, but it will. I think St Helens are just that. When you think at the start of the season, if you'd have said St Helens would have been 80 minutes away from a grand final, and they would lose that game by a small enough margin to say they were in it for most of it, then with some of the injuries that they've had as well, I think it's been a relatively successful season. But again, the word which we've heard for a little while now is that Paul Whelan's reign will come to an end. But it's more to me about the recruitment, the resource that you give him. It's just seemed unbalanced this year. Again, Alex Walmsley, Darryl Clark, they've got at least another year in them, but you have to be thinking about how do we replace them.
This is the thing, is it? We coaches coach, and they put the team out and they come up with plays or whatever, and so on and so forth. But we don't know how much say they have in recruitment, because they're not the one. It's not like the computer games where you're balancing spreadsheets and stuff. They're not doing all that. They're just picking the team from what they're given.
And the other thing as well is
to have a say in it, but
when you look at how Harry Robertson's improved this year, when you look at, they do have George Whitby, who I know is at the moment one of the people who is getting better by not playing,
but also playing as well.
When they do have Owen Dagnall as well, who of course people forget has been injured towards the back end of the season.
Sensational tries.
But again, what you're looking at is the core of players that then, if there is going to be another coach, is going to inherit quite a rich seam. It's not been a disastrous season for St Helens. There is a thought that they don't play enough rugby. I'm not sure that's Paul Whelan's fault. That is what Lee Breers was brought in for.
But is it also down to the players they've got available to them? Which again, it's.
I think the only criticism I would have of Paul Whelan's, and clearly I'm not a St Helens fan, so I bow to the knowledge of the people who are, is that he hasn't seemed to know what his best combination is.
I did ask him and he said yes. So.
I know, but
yeah,
it doesn't seem to the outside world that he has.
And the thing is, he comes across as a nice bloke. I don't know him other than interviewing.
No, he actually is a nice bloke.
And I think, I've said throughout, some of the criticism he's had compared to others who've got away with a lot this season is ridiculous. He's not been on the pop in Vegas, has he?
I think he's been, again, extremely gracious. I think he's fielded every query that there's been asked of him, which even he must be fed up of. Are you going to be here next year, Paul?
It's the new Brad Arthur.
I just think he's got dignity running through him, like Mark Applegarth, and he deserves more respect for the job that he's done both as a player and as an assistant coach. Where, all the 4 titles that they won, he was the assistant coach. So it's not like he suddenly, we've magicked this guy out of nowhere who isn't as good as the...
Beat Penrith.
If it's now deemed that he's not what the St Helens board want going forward, I think, he's still got credit in the bank.
So it's going to be Paul Rowley anyway, that's what everyone says.
Yeah. Except Paul Rowley, he's not saying.
Because obviously Salford, we don't know what they are. We don't know what Fev are. We don't. And you say North Wales now or another. I still say a Super League club should buy North Wales and run them as a reserve side. But
or Celtic Crusaders, reinvent Celtic Crusaders as a Super League entity.
Before we talk about the teams that actually won, did you see the... I mean, obviously the answer to the question is no. Do you see the article in the Financial Times this week about ice hockey in this country?
Sadly not.
There was I've not read the article, obviously, because I don't read the Financial Times. I can't do the crossword.
Pink paper.
But there was an article in which has upset people. So much so it's upset people in ice hockey that the elite leagues who run the competition...
I've refused to allow a Financial Times correspondent into any of the games.
They released a statement. When I was a big ice hockey fan in the 90s, I'd read Ice Hockey News Review, Power Play, and the Financial Times. That's where I got all my news from. But they wrote an article about a lot of women apparently watch ice hockey because of the men playing. Now, obviously, that would never happen in rugby league on either gender. All the genders. 2025. But there is a... You're in a bookshop. Do you have much call for Mills and Boon and stuff here?
Not anymore.
No. Jilly Cooper novels. There you go, topical.
That might pick up this week.
So, shame for them that the spike comes after, But anyway, there's a boom in hockey romantic fiction. So now women allegedly are going to watch ice hockey because they might meet the man of their dreams. They won't.
Why is anybody objecting to that?
Because it's disrespectful to women who go to watch actual ice hockey and stuff. So what we need is some rugby league based romance fiction, and then we might get in the Financial Times. So if anyone wants to write that, go ahead.
Just briefly for 1 second, going back to the NRL and their ratings.
Oh yeah, they beat the AFL.
Well, but more than that, broken all records. It's the most watched. But apparently, the most significant thing within those ratings is that the highest amount of growth has been in people from 16 to 39.
They're the important people.
They're the people. No, they're the people that are going to take a sport forward. That are going to pay to watch it when it becomes all stream. And I think that is for them. It's massive. The demographic that have been watching the grand final is unprecedented.
So if you'd like to write some romantic fiction about rugby league, get in touch. Phil might publish it in the magazine.
You never know.
It's the end of season.
If it's good.
I've still got to write my column. I will do that this week. Obviously, I've got to do it.
You will. Otherwise, it'll be a blank sheet. I'll have to write it for you. And you wouldn't want
no change from there then. Ian says at least, at the very least, respect from his own supporters. Yeah, there's some of the things.
I think that's the other thing.
Paul has rugby union news. Lee Radford being lined up as the Scotland rugby union number 2 coach.
Yes, defence coach.
Was he at some... I he was at Northampton, wasn't he?
Yeah, and apparently he's keeping his job at Northampton, but they're going to release him for...
That's what they could do with Sean Wayne. He could do another job while he's the England coach. And Martin Gleeson left Warrington.
He did.
And he's gone to Bath.
Has he?
Yeah.
Is that where he's gone?
Yeah. I saw our friend Louis, because he's got a foot in both camps, hasn't he? He's one of those people. He tweeted about it earlier. So.
What, left leg and a right leg?
Yeah. Amusingly, I searched for Prem this week on Google, and it came up with football. So, so it's going well, that rebrand.
Good rebrand.
So the grand final, the men's grand final, the teal stroke turquoise Super League grand final is Wigan versus Hull KR, like last year.
Yep. Without JWH, as we sit.
Speaking of Paul, Bevan French, one of the all-time greats, or a really outstanding player in a time of lower quality? Is it somewhere in the middle? You're going to think about this is a tricky question.
Yeah, because most of a judgment on a game is one thing. And last year in the big games, he was the outstanding player, and that elevates him above most other players. But it's a longevity question, and you can't judge that until there's some retrospective, I don't think. Then, with some of your retrospective, becomes a little bit of nostalgia. So you don't remember that players that you think were brilliant actually might not have been brilliant for the entire time that they were there. You also have to look at the amount of time that people are there, because I've heard it said that, you know, the best overseas player was Jamie Lyon, but he wasn't here for that long. So is Bevan French better than Jamie Lyon because Bevan French has done it for longer? You can only be as good as the competition that you're in allows you to be, and you can't compare eras because rules are different and salary cap and all that kind of thing. Bevan French, when he plays, is a step above most of what we see. What I'm really hoping to see on Saturday night, apart from Alessandria, obviously,
and the Pigeon Detectives,
is who?
I've got all their song.
Both of them. Is I want Mikey Lewis to have a really, really top game on the biggest stage, because I think it's going to be nights like Saturday night with 70,000 people there that will determine the reputation of players. Yeah, you have to do it on a big stage. French has done it, so I think even having that debate about him is valuable, because he's making us look at him as one of the greats, or evaluating him. I want the bulk of the people that are on that pitch to be saying to us, I want Junior December to say, how can you leave me out of the England starting line?
Well, this is the question I was going to ask now. So Sean Wayne will pick his England squad. He's probably, I assume he already knows what his squad is likely to be. And
he's narrowing down from 40 people to 24.
But the 13 he puts out in the first test at Wembley, 17, 18. Do you think that how Mikey Lewis plays in a second successive grand final will give him more of a read on how he would cope in 100%. A game against Australia?
I think when you look at the likes of Reece Walsh, we're now looking forward to him coming over because of what he's done. Like, I want to be looking forward to Mikey Lewis taking on the Aussies, because I think he can stand up to whoever he's facing. And Cameron Munster against Mikey Lewis is going to be the. So I think Mikey needs to really put in a big one. I think the interesting thing for Hull KR, and I know there'll be a bit of ducks and drakes, is whether they bring back Michael McAlora, because some people you ask say he's definitely not going to be fit. It's making Wigan think that he is going to be fit, and if he was fit, we might want to play him because he had such an influence even in the Challenge Cup final. Even at, he only played for a short amount of time, but it's what he brings to the rest of the team. Does that unbalance them with where they are at the moment? I don't know. Or does it mean that Jez Litton, who is another one who you would hope might be in contention for the England squad, if not the England 17, does he then drop to the bench? And I just think it's fascinating. Is Tom Davies going to put down a marker to be an England winger against Liam Marshall, who clearly has been in the dream team this year? I think it's going to be relatively low scoring again. I hope it's going to be close, because even last year you got the feeling that there was a bit of an arm's length mentality about Wigan. That Hull KR didn't look like they were going to score. I don't know if Elliot Minchella is in Sean Wayne's thoughts, but again, I'd love to think that he's going to put in a real captain's performance. But I think you can make a case for both teams, which is great. And the case for Hull KR is they want to right the wrongs of last year, and that whilst the Challenge Cup and the League Leaders Shield are a measure of their improvement, they need to win on the biggest stage. I think for Wigan, it's the fact that they've won 4 trophies last year. Through no fault of their own, they'd only be defending 3. But this 80 minutes is the only chance of them winning a trophy, and I suspect that that's a huge motivation for them. So lots of great narratives, lots of great individuals on both sides. Is Brad O'Neill going to cement an England starting spot, or is Cruz Leeming going to come off the bench and cement his England spot, possibly as a bench player, maybe ahead of Jez Litton? some great battles, big crowd. I don't think it's going to rain. I think it's going to be dry and not as cold as it has been on some.
That's very on grand finally, isn't it?
And I just hope that we hit the 70,000 mark. It's an international football weekend. We will get a lot of publicity.
It's on both 5 Live and TalkSport. So again,
just hope it's a great game.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it will be. The McIlaurin question's an interesting one, isn't it? Because if you shoehorn him into the side which is playing well, I think it's fair to say
playing without him. They've shown that they can play without him.
It's since when they brought back Wellesby, did that change things too much where they went backwards?
But what's interesting now is if JWH doesn't win his appeal, do you need then the experience of McIlaurin more than you would have done? So it becomes a very interesting conundrum.
If he plays well, Sean Wayne might pick him for the Ashes.
McIlaurin off the bench, can he make an impact off the bench, or is he a starting player? I think it's very hard to get into the tempo and rhythm and speed of a game as an older player off the bench. I think you need to start and try and set that tempo and rhythm.
We're going to win anyway. I said this to someone yesterday. Whatever sport it is, and I can give you examples, and I know they won at Wembley, but this is as much as they may not believe it, this is the championship decider. This is the one where they can stick another star on their shirt or whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Until you win this one, I don't have the faith to think you will win it, which is odd. Because in 2017, I thought Castleford would beat Leeds, and then it all fell apart. And Leeds obviously proved that point magnificently. But Wigan know how to win big games, and they know how to win the biggest of games.
But
and this is the biggest of games.
will not be complete unless they do the same. And
like York,
this might just be their time.
Like York, they had that 20-game winning streak or whatever, but when it came down to the one that mattered, they didn't win. And this is the one that everything will be.
But even, York women finally turn round this. They can't win big games to win the grand final 2 seasons running. There comes a point where Hull KR do win it, do put a new name on the trophy.
I'm not saying they won't win. I'm not saying they can't win, but I'll still take Wigan just because.
I think that's the chat we've just had, which people may or may not agree with. I think that's why it's an intriguing 80 minutes or possibly 90.
Because again, we're going into a game where we're not sure who's going to win.
No.
At Wembley, we thought we did, and we were possibly wrong until we weren't. Here, like yesterday,
Hull KR probably need to establish a lead, because I think Wigan are the best team at preserving one. And again, the danger is that you start playing the occasion and the clock if you go behind, and you do uncharacteristic things. You've got to do what Brisbane did. You've got to believe, and you've not got to get. You've not got to be pushed too far away from what works if it isn't going your way, because you know that at some point it isn't going to be going your way.
If you can get there, get there. If you can't get there, watch it. If you can't watch it, listen to it. And we'll talk about it next week, because we've got to prepare now to pronounce Mark Nawaqanitawazi. It's not that difficult a name to pronounce. It's like Sri Lankan cricketers. It's just a lot of syllables.
Are all in the right place.
Yeah. And they're all easy to say. It's just a matter of working out how to say it. So that's going to be all right. The Ashes are coming. At least next week. It's the grand final, and then there's a bit of I know there's some internationals, but it's a bit of we can rest for a bit, and then we go boom, we're straight into it again. It's all go. Phil, though, he says it's going to be Smith and Williams and all the players in the World Cup with the odd exception. Oh, well, Victor Radley, he's not playing, is he? Paul says, reckon it will be Rovers with a gritty performance, not many grand finals are classics.
No, not many World Cup final football matches are classics. Very few games when the teams are so evenly matched are classics, which I think is why I'm still in awe of what happened. Have I mentioned this? That Brisbane won the men's grand final in such a thrilling, swashbuckling style, because you don't normally get that.
Disappointing lack of fighting in the women's grand final yesterday. compared to the Australian.
When the final hooter went, there
Lots
should have been an all-in brawl.
Lots of physicality and injuries. I think Caitlin Casey might have broken a finger at one point or something. But no all-in brawling. Really, so too much respect. Come on.
It'd be great.
Go viral.
It would be great if we got a 24-18 final, but I just think it might be a bit of a mirror of what we saw last year, which is not a bad thing.
So
defence is can be a beautiful thing.
Is it 2 grand finals in a row they haven't conceded a try, Wigan?
That's where it gets interesting.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Regardless of if it's not a classic game, it's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. Exactly.
Shall we go?
If
for the lasagna.
If Friday had been differently, I might not have gone.
Really?
I said to someone the other day,
what if it had been Wigan Saints?
I might not have gone because I can't be bothered with it. But as it's not, I
do think that, again, the opportunity of putting a new name on the trophy is something the competition needs, and there is that possibility.
I mean, the biggest question going into Saturday night, having you been at York, yes, and I was at Wigan, is who's going to present the trophy, because there was no chief executive of the Rugby Football League. I know we still have one. I know he's leaving, but he wasn't there, and the executive chairman, special envoy, he wasn't there. So who's going to present it on Friday? Saturday.
I think he'll be there.
Well, there tomorrow. Will there be people chucking bread rolls at other tables tomorrow? Is it more of a refined do?
Well, it's black tie, but you'd hope that.
Yeah, but the other year, Josh Charlie went in a t-shirt and jeans, and I know people said that's his style or whatever.
Somebody will do that.
Yeah. And then
I think you should feel uncomfortable wearing a bow tie.
And then we'll all go, well, why does no one take us seriously? They never will. But
I'll report back on the bread roll throw.
Good. I hope there's lots of butter and stuff. Enjoy the week. It's grand final week, and let's hope above everything that between now and Saturday that all the headlines are about positive stories about rugby league players
on
and
the
coaches.
field.
Yes, and not players getting in trouble for things.
Oh,
are they
separate biscuits?
Separate biscuits.
Yes. So I'm going to toast
French.
to lose.
Well, I've not had my penicillin deliberately so I can eat some biscuits. So don't tell my doctors. We'll be back on Monday for the post-grand final edition.
Lemon-flavoured soft bakes.
Ooh.
Bit pop,
Right, walk biscuits. We'll see what we can nick from the Old Trafford press room, as in food. There'll be cake and stuff, I'm sure. Hot chocolate.
See if we can get something for the table of 10.
Yeah. A programme to then sell. Apparently there's some programmes yesterday, but I didn't see any. But I saw people with them.
Yes, I know Wigan were producing some.
Yeah, but I didn't get one, which is a shame. So if you've got a spare one there, please send us one. And I think that's it, isn't it? That is it. There's nothing else to talk about. Biscuits are here. We need to go see if there's anything in the paper. And I've got to write my column.
Oh, it's like a pillow.
It's like, what is that, sir? Is it a biscuit? Now,
It's squidgy.
Oh God, I didn't tell you this last week. AI, which of course is evil.
Can be.
On Spotify now, the AI, and I don't know how it does it, puts chapters in for the podcast. So it'll say something like Women's Grand Final Review, what's happening at York, a word from our valued sponsors, which we haven't said, and at the end it just said, wrapping up, biscuits.
Right.
That's the programme. That's the programme. So,
I'm cool with that. The only trouble is I should have taken the shirt off before I had to be.
Oh, you're going to get all crumbs down here,
No, it's going to explode.
We'll be back next week. Enjoy the grand final. If your team is in it, good luck to them. If they're not, well, you won't care, will you? You probably want Hull KR to win. Unless you're from Hull, and then you want Wigan to win. Unless you're a Saints fan. Oh, you will want Hull KR to win, yeah. So enjoy the week. I'm not going to the press conference tomorrow, so there'll be no extra videos. But go watch all the stuff from yesterday, including the Wigan players wearing glasses. We
don't know why they're all.
Because we're not in the target 16 to 39 demographic. So, but we know you are. That's the main thing. We'll see you next week. Ta-ra!